All right, so we're diving into Who Moved My Cheese, which seems like a book that people really want to dig into.
Yeah.
And for good reason. It's been on the bestseller list for years.
Right.
And I've got to say, after reading it, I totally get it.
Yeah.
This whole cheese and a maze thing, it's sneakily brilliant.
It really is. You would think a story about cheese would be the last place you'd find like these profound life lessons.
Right.
But that's kind of the beauty of a good parable, right? It disarms you with this kind of like simplicity and then bam!
Yeah.
It hits you with these insights about how we handle change as human beings.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I get it. Change is tough.
Yeah.
But what if we just look at it this way?
Right.
So to make sense of it all, we get introduced to Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw.
Yeah.
Who are our main characters in this maze?
Our cheese hunter.
I already am picturing some familiar faces that fit those names perfectly.
Oh, absolutely.
How about you?
Yeah, and that's the first brilliant move the book makes, right?
Okay.
These characters aren't just random rodents and tiny people.
Yeah.
They represent different ways we react to change.
Oh.
So you've got Sniff and Scurry, the mice,
Okay.
all about instinct and quick adaptation.
Yeah.
And then you've got Hem and Haw, the little people, who overthink and get stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
And the book really wants you to ask yourself in different situations, who are you most like?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's like holding a mirror up.
Exactly.
Yeah. But before we even get to the nitty-gritty of like change,
Yeah.
the book paints this picture of Cheese Station C.
Right.
It's where they're living their best life.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
The cheese is plentiful.
Yeah, everyone's content.
It's that feeling of, this is the good life. I hope it never ends.
Right.
We've all been there, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the author, I think, starts to plant these subtle seeds of foreshadowing.
Okay.
Because while Hem and Haw are enjoying this cheese-filled paradise, right?
Yeah.
They're missing something crucial. They're so comfortable they don't even think about where the cheese came from. What happens if it runs out? So it makes you wonder, are they being naive, or is that just part of human nature?
Yeah.
To get comfortable and just forget that things can change. And change they do.
Oh, boy.
Because just when you're settled into this sense of like cheese-fueled bliss, bam, the cheese is gone.
Oh, no.
Right? And so the reaction, well, Sniff and Scurry, true to their nature,
Okay.
they don't waste any time. They're like, okay, cheese is gone. Time to find new cheese.
They're on it.
But Hem and Haw, their world practically crumbles.
Oh, no.
No cheese. No cheese.
Oh, man. It's almost painful to read.
Right.
But you can't help but laugh because we've all had those moments.
Been there.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this book. It just captures those raw human reactions perfectly.
Yeah.
The mice, with their simplicity, they just adapt.
They do.
But the little people, with all their thoughts and emotions, that's where they get tangled up. And here's where the metaphor really kicks in.
Okay.
The cheese isn't just cheese. It represents anything we value: a job, a relationship, a belief system.
And the book is forcing us to confront how we react when those things inevitably change.
And the way they react is almost too relatable.
Oh, it is.
They're wandering around this empty cheese station,
Right.
like lost and confused.
Yeah.
First there's denial, like maybe it'll come back.
Yeah.
Then the blame game starts.
Yeah.
The complaining. This sense of entitlement, like the universe owes them cheese.
Yeah.
It's like watching a car crash in slow motion.
Right.
But you can't look away.
You can't.
Because we've all been Hem or Haw at some point.
Absolutely. We've all been there.
Stuck in that cycle of denial and resistance.
Right.
Clinging to what's gone instead of looking for what's next.
Exactly. The author doesn't sugarcoat it either.
Yeah.
Like all those kind of like uncomfortable emotions that we experience when we're faced with change. Fear, confusion, resentment. It's all there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so easy to get trapped in that negativity.
Right.
And let it paralyze us.
Yeah. And then something shifts.
Yes.
Haw starts to see the absurdity of it all.
He does.
And he starts to laugh at himself.
Yes.
At their predicament.
Yeah.
And it's this turning point where humor becomes this unlikely catalyst for growth.
Totally.
It's like that moment when you realize you're taking yourself way too seriously.
Yeah.
You can finally breathe again.
Yes.
You can think clearly.
Exactly.
And that's when he starts noticing the writing on the walls of the maze.
Oh, yeah.
These little phrases, these little signposts that kind of guide his thinking.
It's like he's leaving a trail for himself.
Yeah. And for us.
And for us, right?
If you do not change, you can become extinct. That one hit hard.
Right.
It's a stark reminder that clinging to the past can be a recipe for disaster.
especially when things are clearly different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this one. What would you do if you weren't afraid?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That one always gets me.
Right.
Because fear is usually what keeps us tethered to that old cheese.
Oh, it is. It keeps us comfortable.
Even when it's gone.
Yeah.
But imagine if we could just set it aside, even for a moment.
What could we accomplish?
What would we be capable of?
It's limitless, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And these aren't just cheesy motivational quotes.
No, they're not.
They represent those aha moments, those shifts in perspective that kind of help us break free from those old patterns. And as he embraces these new ideas, he starts to find his way again. And he eventually finds out that Sniff and Scurry...
Well, they landed on their feet.
They did.
They always do.
Of course.
They found Cheese Station N.
Right, which is like...
bigger and better than the last one.
Even better.
Of course. Because change isn't just about survival, it's about opening ourselves up to new possibilities.
It's like that saying, you have to close a door to open a window.
That's it.
They didn't waste any time mourning what was lost.
No, they didn't.
They were too busy looking for the next great cheese.
Exactly.
But what about Hem?
Oh, yeah.
Still back there.
Poor Hem.
Clinging to the hope of old cheese.
Yeah.
Hall thinks about going back for him.
Yeah.
Even leaving a trail. But then he makes a choice.
He does.
Chooses to trust that Hem will find his own way in his own time.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
Right.
Because it's easy to say, oh, I'd help my friend.
Yeah.
But in reality, how often are we forcing our own solutions on other people?
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing we can do is let people navigate their own maze.
Right.
Trust that they'll find their own cheese.
Right.
Even if it takes a little longer.
And that's where the book leaves us.
It does.
With a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And a little nudge to apply those lessons to our own lives.
Right. It's not giving you like a step-by-step guide to finding your new cheese.
Right.
But it offers some powerful questions
It does.
to guide your thinking.
Like, what is your cheese?
Yes.
In the grand scheme of things.
What is it really?
It's not just a job.
Yeah. No, it's not just a relationship.
It's about those core values.
Yeah.
Things that fulfill you.
Exactly.
Once you figure that out, then you can start to see where you might be holding yourself back.
Absolutely.
Maybe even scarier.
Yeah.
Is there new cheese out there you haven't even considered?
Oh, yeah.
A new passion?
Oh.
A new way of thinking? A new adventure waiting to unfold?
It's exciting when you think about it that way, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And that's where the work begins.
That's where the real work begins.
Not enough to read about Sniff and Scurry.
No.
Hem and haw.
You got to look inward.
We got to ask ourselves those tough questions.
Yeah.
What are we afraid of?
Yeah. What would you do if fear wasn't holding you back?
What's one small step we can take today to move in a new direction?
I like that.
So this deep dive into who moved my cheese might be over. It feels like the conversation is just beginning.
It does, right?
Yeah.
It's given us a new lens to view change.
Yeah.
A new appreciation for the journey, however messy it might be.
We've all got our own maze to navigate.
We do.
Our own cheese to find. The key takeaway, embrace those inevitable changes.
Yes.
Trust the process.
You got it.
And never be afraid to sniff out that new cheese.
That's right. Go find it.
Who knows what you might find.